It was just payback for a single slap. But the price tag? 3 innocent lives. The most chilling part? She wasn't alone. She was carrying a 3-month-old unborn child. A life ended by hate before it even began. Behind school walls, a grudge turned lethal. One wrong move that ended in cold-blooded murder. A promise of an apology, a closed door, and just 15 minutes. 15 minutes that stopped a mother's life forever. Meanwhile, just upstairs, her 4-year-old daughter was playing completely oblivious. So who threw that slap? And what kind of twisted feud wipes out 3 generations? Brace yourself. This truth is brutal.
Before the truth fades, unlock the veil. Join the investigation.
In a bustling American city, where life moves at a breakneck pace, every moment births a new story. Among those stories was one. The story of Sarah Williams. Sarah was born in a small hospital room where Martha and Richard Bennett, a couple head over heels for each other, were all smiles, seeing their first child. A wave of peace washed over Martha's face, while Richard's eyes were absolutely beaming with pride and hope. Sarah quickly became their be-all and end-all. Her childhood was a blast, filled with laughter and innocence. Richard, often coming home in his uniform, would scoop up Sarah onto his shoulders and say, "Hey there, my little officer. One day you'll fight the good fight too." Martha kept her daughter's life covered in prayers. Every birthday, she'd arrange the cake and balloons, and Richard would capture every single moment with his camera. The next big step in Sarah's life came when she started school. In her tiny uniform, as she walked through that gate for the first time, Martha teared up. Tears of joy, and maybe a little fear thrown in there too. Years flew by. Sarah blossomed into a brilliant student, always crushing it at the top of her class, a go-to for her teachers and a guide for her friends. There was sincerity in everything she did, a pure simplicity, as if she hadn't a clue about the world's deceit. Richard was counting down the days to retirement, but discipline and honesty still ran deep within him. Martha instilled in her daughter a core of love, manners, and a strong sense of justice. These became the bedrock of Sarah's character. Once, Richard dropped a gem on her. In life, truth always comes at a price, but lies cost you even more. Sarah had just shrugged it off at the time. Pause. Little did she know, one day that very line would seal her fate. After graduation, Sarah decided she wanted to make a real difference with her life. She had always been a big fan of children, their smiles, their curiosity. They truly brought her peace. One day, she applied for a teaching job at a local school. Every morning when she grabbed the chalk and began to write on the whiteboard, she felt an overwhelming sense of calm, like her life had finally clicked. In every class, her voice carried warmth, and her lessons were packed with passion. The children's faces would brighten right up when she answered their questions. To them, she wasn't just Miss Sarah. She was a friend, a mentor. In the evenings, she gave small tuition classes at home, a cozy spot filled with laughter and banter. Every corner of her house was glowing with new light. Martha often used to say, "My daughter has nailed her life, building it on her own passion, totally independent." And Richard would just smile quietly, proud and deeply content. Sarah's life had fallen into a sweet groove. Mornings at school, evenings with tuition, and nights with family dinners. Her days had a mellow vibe, a quiet balance. Around this time, a proposal came knocking from Daniel Williams. Daniel was a well-established car dealer, a man of few words, but you could tell he had a lot going on upstairs. After their first meeting, Martha simply said, "The guy seems pretty solid. At least you won't be flying solo your whole life." Sarah kept mum. Neither yes nor no. But a few days later, when Daniel came again with his mother, Sarah felt a different kind of vibe. He wasn't much of a talker, but his eyes carried something, a strange depth, a calmness, and perhaps a flicker of fear. The wedding was on pretty fast after that. A few months later, they tied the knot. The wedding day. A small garden, a gentle breeze, and Sarah in a white gown, her back to the camera lens, standing beside Daniel. Both were all smiles, the kind of smiles only folks with fresh dreams wear. Richard and Martha's eyes were beaming with happiness. Their daughter was turning a new page in life. Long pause. But fate had a storm brewing quietly behind all that joy. A few months after the wedding, Sarah settled into a new rhythm. Daniel was practical, a bit low-key, but definitely understanding. They moved into a new apartment right in the same complex where Martha was living upstairs. Before long, Emily was born. Sarah's whole new universe. Mornings at school, evenings with tuitions, nights spent hanging out with Emily, and family dinners. Everything was totally balanced. Sarah was on the clock teaching children when she got a call from Martha. "Sarah, your father's had a heart attack." She took off for the hospital right away. After spending a day at the hospital, Richard passed away. Martha and Sarah felt like their world had crumbled. Richard's sudden death shook the entire family to its core. But as time went on, a strange darkness began creeping into Sarah's dreams. Many times she felt like someone was checking her out. It's just in your head, but something deep inside Sarah had started to shift. Sarah was pregnant again. She was over the moon. She shared the good news with Daniel, who smiled with tears in his eyes, saying, "Finally, Emily's gonna have a brother." Both of them dreamed up a baby boy. They were super stoked for that beautiful day, when a tiny new life would light up their home with laughter. Sarah was now 3 months pregnant, counting the days with hope and love. But fate had something completely messed up written for them. One morning, it was just another regular day. Sarah was whipping up breakfast, Daniel was getting ready for work, and little Emily was chillin' watching cartoons. "Sarah, I've got a packed schedule of tuitions today." Daniel, "Got it. Just drop Emily off at her grandma's." But that night, Sarah had a dream. Someone was behind her, but the face was totally hidden. She woke up in the morning and shrugged it off as nothing. At school, Sarah was a dedicated teacher. Her class had all kinds of students, some bright, some struggling a bit. Among them were 2 brothers, Mike and Ryan, from 9th grade. They were average students, but their fees had been overdue for months. Sarah had tipped off Mr. Leonard Adams, the school headmaster, a few weeks earlier. "Sarah, sir, they skip homework and their fees are still up." Mr. Leonard Adams addressed it in the morning assembly, straight up humiliating the 2 brothers. He even slapped each of them right across the face. Mr. Leonard Adams, "Now you'll learn." The class cracked up, but Mike and Ryan's faces were burning with rage and shame. Later, in the corridor, the brothers whispered, brother's voice. "This happened because of Miss Sarah. She's the one who ratted us out." Filled with humiliation and rage, they totally confronted Sarah and said some pretty rude stuff. Sarah laid down the law firmly and said, "Behave yourselves." They looked sheepish and quietly went back to class. 2 days later. It was evening. Just like clockwork, tuition was going on. About 10 to 12 kids were in the drawing room, buzzing with chatter and noise. Emily was upstairs with Martha. Sarah was tired, yet happy. One by one, all the students cleared out. That evening, after the last student headed home, Sarah felt like someone was just hanging out in the hallway outside. She peeked through the peephole. Nobody. "Must be my imagination," she thought. Emily was still up with Martha. Martha was playing with her, but it was getting late. Martha's thought, "Sarah hasn't swung by to pick up Emily yet." She checked the time. 7 p.m. She headed downstairs and gave Sarah's apartment door a knock. No response. The door latch was locked from the outside. Martha unlatched it and slowly stepped inside. The drawing room was dimly lit, only a single lamp giving off a faint glow. Near the sofa, something caught her eye. Sarah, lying on the floor covered with a scarf. Martha's voice. "Sarah? What kind of a place to crash is this? Get up!" Martha nudged her foot. Nothing. She tried again, shaking all over. "Wake up, dear. Are you so zonked you just fell asleep here?" Her heartbeat went into overdrive. She slowly lifted the scarf. Sarah's throat was slit open, her face soaked in blood, eyes staring wide in shock. Martha let out a blood-curdling scream. "Martha! Sarah!" She went down. Martha crying. "Sarah! My child!" Sobbing, she grabbed her phone and dialed Daniel Williams. Martha panicked. "Daniel! Get here fast! Something awful's happened to Sarah!" Daniel arrived and the police were called in. Blue lights flashing, neighbors mobbing the hallway. Detective Ryan Cole, a seasoned investigator, took the scene. Detective Cole. "What's the 411? Any signs of a struggle?" The forensics team started snapping pics. Martha was barely holding it together, crying. Martha, wailing, "Who could do this to my daughter? She always helped folks." Daniel stood frozen, hands shaking. Daniel, shocked. "Who could have pulled this off? Our life was just perfect." Emily was crying her eyes out upstairs. No one could make heads or tails of what was happening. The police's initial check showed no signs of forced entry. The door had been opened voluntarily. The weapon was missing, but the kitchen blade was gone. The web of suspicion began to tighten. Who was the person? Who walked right in that night? Detective Ryan Cole hit Martha with a question. "Detective Cole, any enemies? Did Sarah ever clue you in on an argument with anyone?" Martha said no way. Martha. She loved every single person. The first suspicion fell squarely on Daniel Williams. Detective Ryan Cole pressed him. "Were you clocked in at the office?" Daniel handed over his alibi. CCTV footage, call logs, but Cole still had a hunch. The killer was someone in the loop. The phone records showed some wiped texts and an unlisted number. Detective Ryan Cole dropped by Sarah's school and met the headmaster, Mr. Leonard Adams. He dug around for info on Sarah's behavior and activities, grilled everyone, but came up empty on clues. Every night Martha would cry. Martha, wailing. "Who took my daughter?" Media headlines screamed, "Teacher brutally slain in apartment, family under the microscope." The pressure was piling up on Daniel Williams. At night, he couldn't catch a wink, thinking, Daniel's thought, who? Why? Who did this to Sarah? One night, he received an unknown call. Just heavy breathing. Then the line went dead. The suspense ratcheted up. Daniel Williams had a freaky feeling that someone was watching his six. A week rolled by. 0 solid leads. Forensics only found partial prints. No matches. Detective Ryan Cole was frustrated. Detectives thought, this screams planned murder, but the motive? It's a huge question mark. Daniel Williams was called down to the station every single day. He was breaking down. Daniel. I swear I didn't do it. We were happy. Everything was for Emily's sake. But public opinion was, it's always the husband in these cases. Friends whispered, maybe Daniel Williams's business was going south. A week later, Detective Ryan Cole got a ring from Sarah's neighbor, Mrs. Helen Brooks. She said, I need to come clean about the Sarah Williams murder case. Detective Ryan Cole immediately said, I'm on my way to your place. Within minutes, Detective Ryan Cole was at Helen Brooks's door. She let him in and said, I was too shaken up that day, so I couldn't say anything. But I can't sleep for squat. Those two faces keep popping up. The detective listened intently, eyes locked on her. Helen said, I saw through my peephole. 2 boys walk right into her flat that day. The detective immediately had mugshots made according to Helen's description. 2 boys around 14 to 15 years old, both high schoolers. A spark went off in Detective Ryan Cole's mind, and his thoughts shot straight to Sarah's school. The next day, he went to go see the headmaster, Mr. Leonard Adams. The detective showed him the 2 sketches. Mr. Leonard looked at the sketches in total shock. His eyes widened, and under his breath he muttered, Adams. No way. This can't be for real. The detective, picking up on his reaction, knew something was up. Detective. Mr. Adams, spill it. Do you know these kids? Mr. Adams sighed deeply and said, Adams. These are the same 2 brothers from 9th grade. The ones I chewed out a few days ago after Sarah told me their fees were long overdue. Mike and Ryan. Detective Ryan Cole immediately put out a warrant for both brothers' arrest. It didn't take long before the 2 boys were in police custody. The interrogation kicked off. At first, denial. Brothers, we didn't go near that place, but under intense pressure, they caved. Confession. Yeah, we went. For payback. They were Sarah's students, livid over the assembly humiliation. Detective Ryan Cole slammed his fist on the table in anger. Why the hell did you do this? Mike replied. Miss Sarah made us look like fools in front of everyone. We became a total joke. We just wanted to get even.
Detective, you 2. Do you even get what you've done? You didn't just take 1 life. You mercilessly took 2. The woman who taught you, who wanted to make something of you. You killed not only her, but also the child she carried. A little guy who never even had a shot at breathing.
The detective drilled them furiously. Walk me through everything. How did you pull it off? Mike began to speak. It was evening. We went to Miss Sarah's flat and rang the buzzer. She came to the door and asked, What are you guys doing here? We said, Miss, we came to say sorry for the way we acted the other day. Please let it go. Miss Sarah smiled and said, It's no big deal. I forgave you that same day. I don't hold anything against you. Come on in, both of you. She let us in and had us sit in the drawing room. We apologized again so Miss Sarah wouldn't get suspicious. She said, It's fine, no problem. Chill here for a minute, I'll whip up some tea for you. Then she went into the kitchen. While she was making tea, Ryan and I slipped into the kitchen. Ryan delivered a hard kick to Miss Sarah's stomach, and she went down backward. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, while Ryan clamped his hand over her mouth, so she couldn't scream. She was writhing from the kick. Right then, I put the knife to her neck. and started slicing fast. Blood gushed from her throat and she struggled violently, but Ryan and I held her tight. In a few moments, she stopped moving. We picked up her body and laid it out in the drawing room between the sofa and the table, then covered her up with her scarf. After that, we split and locked the door from the outside. Detective Cole closed his eyes. Kids. And this kind of darkness. The case hit the courts. Mike and Ryan's father, Mr. Henry Carter, was a big-shot businessman, a man with serious pull. He hired the best defense money could buy, hell-bent on saving his sons from the murder charge. He kept insisting, "My boys are innocent, it was a freak accident." But the evidence was rock solid. There were witnesses, both had confessed, and the school link was crystal clear. Despite all of that, their escape seemed off the table. But Mr. Henry Carter wasn't someone who threw in the towel. He had to get his kids out at any cost, even when death was staring them down. Martha kept fighting the good fight, and Daniel had her back. But Mr. Henry Carter cranked up the pressure. He arranged threatening calls to Martha, slipped her warnings, even threw out a compensation offer. Still, Martha stood her ground. Finally, one night, totally wiped out, Martha said, "I'm flying solo here. I gotta stay alive for Emily." And she took the deal on Mr. Henry Carter's compensation offer. Daniel blew up in protest. "This is a slap in the face to Sarah!" Tears streamed down Martha's face. "I can't take this anymore, son." A month later, Mike and Ryan walked free. The city seemed back to normal, but Martha was dead inside. At night, she heard voices. Sarah's. "Mom, why'd you let them off the hook?" One evening, Martha was sitting outside on a bench right below the building with Emily. From a distance, Mike and Ryan strolled past. They smiled, but in their eyes, something was off. Was it guilt? Or maybe lining up for a new revenge? The camera slowly pulls back, revealing Sarah's old flat, where under the dim glow of a flickering lamp, her chalk still rests. Truth sets you free. Sometimes it's just too little. Too late. All she did was teach. Tried to help these kids become decent people. But maybe humanity is just something you can't school into people. Two kids wiped it all out in just a single messed up moment. And all that chaos over a few bucks. Now, you need to decide. Was the mother right to take the cash and keep her mouth shut? Or should this brutal crime have gone to the full extent of the law? Drop your take in the comments below.